and looking forward to this webinar tonight. If it's your first time joining us, welcome aboard. Grab something to eat if you need to, a cup of tea, pen and paper to write things down, or an iPad to take notes. If you have missed the previous workshops, this is our last few days of the live webinars, but you can catch up on the rest by jumping over to our website and viewing them on there, or looking at our other platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. I'm Lisa, and I will be going through tonight's webinar with you. First off, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. 30-Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs, to both the elders past and present. 30-Foot Drop funding. 30-Foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as the Two Wise Monkeys project wouldn't see the light of day, and we'd be much more poor for it as a community. So we thank them very much for that funding. This workshop is part of a Realities and Advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30-Foot Drop as part of an Information, Linkages and Capacity Building grant for 2018 and 2019. Right, now I'm just going to go over some housekeeping on how the webinars are run. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor every live platform live. So what that means is if you wanted to send me a direct message, you'll have to jump onto the link below to be able to do that, which is www.30footdrop.com.au/live. If you want to send me a direct message, jump into the live box on the website and then you'll be able to chat with me. But if you are watching from Facebook or YouTube, you won't be able to send a message through those platforms. You'll just need to jump on the link below. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we ask attendees to try and minimise any distractions, which can be hard if you've got kids at home and stuff, but we can only do our best. Please make sure that if you talk about 30-Foot Drop to tag us in anything and share our information, because the more people that know about what we're doing, the more people are going to be educated and changes will happen within our community. We'll be recording this session and every other session, so if you need to go back on anything or you've missed something, you can go back and re-watch it. So don't worry if you have to pop out of the room or anything like that, because it's all recorded. And all the research that we speak about, the stats and the readings and all that kind of thing to do with every webinar, there's more information available on our website under resources if you wanted to look further into anything. And if you know anyone as well that might benefit from these webinars, please let them know. Tell them to register with the last 3 days coming up. So we've got one tomorrow, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday are our last days. So let's now see who the Two Wise Monkeys are. I'm Lisa, as I said before, and I am Hear No Evil. The other monkey is Ben, and he is the director and the creator of the Two Wise Monkeys workshops and the 30-Foot Drop website. So Ben is in a wheelchair, and he had an accident how long ago? 13 years ago, where he was put in a wheelchair. So before that, he obviously lived an able-bodied life, and then after his accident, a disabled body. And he used to get frustrated and angry that people didn't understand and the way that they treated him and stuff. But then he thought, well, it actually is because people aren't educated. People don't actually know. So that is why we are here today, to try and educate people on things that need to change to do with disability and impairment, and how to treat them with respect and equality. So that is Ben, and when you see him again next, he will tell you his story. Now me, I have more of a hidden impairment, and most people that know me wouldn't even know that I have it. I was born 10 weeks premature. and with premature births can come complications. I was okay when I was first born, just very little, and then at the age of 8 I was at the age of 8 I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. So this was really difficult growing up, especially for a girl, because it wasn't as common. I had one teacher that used to hit me on the head in front of my classmates and say, "Why don't you understand what's wrong with you?" making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. Another teacher read out my low marks in front of the class. Why she did that, I'm not sure. As well as everyone else's marks, but my marks weren't the best, and it was humiliating. So my story I want to get across to people that may have a learning disability or a child that does. Don't let those people bring you down, and don't beat yourself up if you haven't got the best marks, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You know, I ended up finding out when I was 13 that I was actually better at something else, something that I was better at art and photography than some of my classmates, and I ended up doing really well and getting in the 90th percentile. I still passed school, but it was really hard. I had to try so much harder than everyone else, and that's pretty hard for someone with a learning disability, because, you know, school's hard enough as it is. You have to study hard enough as it is, and, you know, when you're a teenager, it's not really what you want to be doing. So for me, it was really hard. I had to try really hard. But despite those challenges, I got an arts degree. I have a fine art degree where I've done picture framing and gallery museum work all around the world. I've travelled all around the world, worked in galleries, organised exhibitions, marketing, catering, had my own exhibitions, sold artwork, sold photography, and you know, you can be successful, and it's just a matter of finding what it is that you're good at and what you're passionate about. So that was my passion, was art and photography, and it still is, and it always will be. But I also did a counselling degree about 8 years ago now, because I just love helping people. I love helping people to feel more positive and make the changes in their life to feel better. And this is what brought me to Ben, being able to share my story about my impairment, but also to tell people that, you know, it's okay and we can get through this and we can make changes together. And if I can help make these changes, then I've succeeded. So that is us monkeys. But when you look at the monkeys, you've got see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. So today, who is speak no evil? You guys take a little guess as to who that might be. So you guys. So the aim of tonight's workshop, is to turn you into that wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realizing impairment or not. We are all human and deserve to be acknowledged and treated in the same way as everyone else. And t-shirts are available to buy, the ones behind me. You can get them in black and white, and they range from size 5 kids size all the way up to 5XL adult size. They're really cool, really popular, and we quite often get stopped in the street asking where we've got them from. So if you'd like one of those, they're available on our website under shop. So let's go over the outline and method of today's workshop. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there's a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impacts on your business. We're going to examine the size of the market segment and what people with impairment represent, explaining who they are and their potential customer base. Then we will examine the potential impacts they can have on your business, both the positives and the negatives. After covering all of this good stuff, we will have an open forum where we can talk about any questions that have been sent in. But please feel free along the way, if you do have any questions, you can send them along. So how are we going to cover this, and what will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, experience, and open, honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest about the way we feel about disability impairment, how it affects us, be honest with a business that may have treated you unfairly or showed discrimination, we need to be open and honest so that people can be educated and change their way of thinking around disability and impairment. So, really important message. You'll also notice that there is very little written content on the slides, and that is so that it is easy for everyone to understand that is following it. And we also don't believe in death by PowerPoint. So it's easy for people with an impairment to follow and watch. There's not too much complex information. The colours are nice and simple and easy, and it's easy to follow. So that is one of the reasons as well. And you will find in the webinars we talk a lot about keeping it simple and easy to understand, especially for people with impairments or disabilities. And also, if you do have a hearing impairment and you would like to have subtitles, please jump over to the 30-foot drop Facebook page and you can get subtitles, but you'll need to just turn the sound down on that platform so that you can get the subtitles. So now I'm going to go over a few words and talk about the terminologies of these words. Quite often people get these words mixed up and think that they mean the same thing, when in fact they're all very different. Okay, impairment is an injury, illness or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss or difference of physiological and psychological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my impairment is that I have mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level with others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to participate or access something. So disable, unable to access. So an example for someone with a learning disability, and there are different types and different meanings to them, but for someone like me, what I've found is too much wording, complex information or stylized script can sometimes make it hard for people with dyslexia to understand, which then makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your business or service. This is especially important to know because some people's impairments are hidden. And if someone's impairments are hidden, they are walking away from your business if it's too complicated. So you're losing money. And that's not good. So you need to look at your website, your marketing, your platforms. Are they easy to understand? Is your information too complicated for this kind of market to get the right information that we need? Just things to be aware of. I know that if I've jumped on a website and it's too complicated, too much wording, we have to go here, then you have to go here, and then you have to figure this out and that out, I will just be like, oh, I'm finding an easier one. And it's so easy to do nowadays, especially with social media. So you've got to make sure that everything is nice and clear so that your customers stay on your website. So that is the terminology of disability and impairment. We will now talk about access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and external, to participate in the activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be assessed with a checklist. So you own a cafe or a business and you need to check, are the door frames wide enough for someone with a mobility scooter or in a wheelchair to get through? Are the door handles at a level where people can reach that are in a wheelchair, have a disability or a short stature? And can they actually push the door open? Because a lot of places do have really, really heavy doors to get into. Now, someone with a disability or even someone in a wheelchair may not be able to actually push that door open. So all these little things to look at. And you can jump onto our website, which is the link below, and look under resources, and you will see an accessibility checklist where you can go around your business and double check that it is accessible. And you would make someone with a disability or impairment so happy if you just make these little changes, because they potentially might not be coming into your business because they actually can't get in. So important to know. Now the last one here is inclusion, and this is one of the most important. Inclusion is more of a psychological state of being and is the process hereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of a service or activity in the same way as every other member in the community. So inclusion is making sure that no matter how you appear, your sexual preference, your religion, you are welcome into every business. There'd be nothing worse than feeling like, especially with a disability, going in somewhere and feeling like you're not really included and that you shouldn't be there. This is discrimination, and we all deserve to be treated equally and fairly. So you've got to make sure that your business has a very inclusive feeling to it. Locking the disabled toilets, for instance, are not going to make someone in a wheelchair or someone with a disability feel included. They're going to feel like you don't want them there because the doors are locked. So make sure all these things are accessible and inclusive. So let's get into today's untapped market, the hidden market. Why is that not working? No, too far. Okay, let's get into the good stuff and look at the market share. Okay, here's a business idea. Ignore the potential market. That's what many sports athletic related businesses did until they realised in the mid-1990s that they had been passing on a goldmine. Women. Yes, you know, half the population that most thought should be playing with Barbies and prams. Well, in the 1990s, there was a turning point. The NBC 1996 Summer Olympic Games coverage, which targeted women and sports much more than previously, and many more female-orientated sports advertisements, apparel and equipment lines emerged. So there was a big change. So imagine that women would actually be interested in doing the same things as the other half of the population. Well, many businesses once again could be ignoring and missing out on these other potential markets. Consider, for example, a population that has clear, persistent needs that are not being adequately fulfilled. This population spans the world and is growing and includes very motivated customers. Since this population is currently being underserved and misunderstood by many businesses, many of these lost customers would be very grateful and loyal to your business if you could meet their needs. This population has an estimated disposable income Australia-wide of 54 million and growing. A lot of money to spend. Also consider how margins are always tight and that finding a new and neglected population can boost your business. And this is especially more important now with the COVID happening. You know, most of us are going to be trying to find a new market and new audience within our business because money is tight. So let's have a look at what this population is. How big a market share do you think people with impairment represent? Let's look at some numbers. Here is the Australian population, 100% of that population. And Ben assures me that he has counted 100 people. So, 5%. There are approximately 5% of the Australian population living with a severe or profound impairment. These are people who require assistance or have difficulty with mobility, communication and self-care. Add to this 5% another 4% and you have 9% of the population who are this 4% is the unpaid primary carers of people with an impairment. You now have a minimum of 9% of the population potentially missing out on products and services. So that is a lot of people missing out on products and services. Now that's a fair share, and this doesn't even include the families and friends who also accompany this 9% on holidays, out for lunch, out for dinner. So, you know, it's a big percentage. And when you involve other family and friends and they have someone within their group that's in a wheelchair and they go somewhere, it's not accessible, then that whole group of people are going to walk away and find somewhere else. So you need to make sure that your business is accessible and inclusive. You may ask, if it is such a big market share, then surely aren't they already being served? Well, you would think so. Aren't there items and service events such as the Paralympic Games every 4 years for those with disabilities? Yes, they do have those, but that might be a bit like saying to women who wanted to play in the 1970s, yeah, but don't you have hopscotch? While some businesses do seem to understand the market of people with disabilities, many do not, and that is why we are doing this. Okay, next, research. Deloitte and the Australian Human Rights Commission released a report in February 2017 called the Missing Out Report. The business case for customer diversity, and in it they represent their research findings about the missed opportunities that occur when businesses do not extend the values of fairness, equality and respect to diverse customer bases. This research covered the diversity areas of gender equality, marriage equality, people with impairments, age, cultural diversity, and practicing a noticeable faith. It's definitely well worth reading and can be found on our digital library. And the findings there will shock you. Okay, now let's have a look at the figures. So this is graph 1. Here's one of the findings that the Missing Out report had. As a customer, more people with impairment are finding that they often do not provide the products and services that they need. So that's 35% of people with an impairment that are not getting the products and services that they need. And the 27% of people with no impairment also feel this way. So it's getting up there, especially if you add them together. It's not very good customer service. Okay, graph 2. As a customer, over a quarter of people with impairment usually have a fear of rejection or embarrassment when it comes to interacting with businesses. That is a lot of scared customers, and ask yourself, do scared customers spend money? No. Graph 3. As a customer over the last 12 months, I was treated less favourably. I was treated less favourably than other customers based on a certain characteristic that I had. Did that press properly? As a customer over the last 12 months, I was treated less favourably than other customers based on a certain characteristic that I had. That's 1 in 3 people with an impairment treated this way by a company because of their disability or impairment. Terrible. 38%. Not going to want to go shopping if you're going to feel like that. Okay, graph 4. This last one shocked us the most, getting discriminated against by one or more organisation. This is crazy. It's almost 30% of people that feel like they are being discriminated against by a company or business. Crazy figures. And once again, you're not going to spend money in these types of businesses. So these stats show that there is definitely a market who is not having their needs met. Next, let's have a look at who this market is and who are the people behind the stats. People with impairment are just like all of us. We have passions, loves, and families. We purchase consumer goods like foods, clothing, cars. We go to the movies, we go out for dinner, we go on holidays, and we have hobbies. But for some reason, we are treated differently. In short, people with impairment are active contributors to the community and the economy. As a result, we represent a market share to businesses and organisations. Because we are a market share, we also are able to impact your organisation, and how we do that is up to you. So there's a big market out there wanting to come and visit your business or service. But if you're not meeting their needs, then they are not going to be there. So let's have a look at the potential impacts. Let's have a look at some of the impacts an impairment can have on your business. These are only minority and ethical consumerism. Only minority. When it comes to minorities, people can often say it's only a minority. There isn't enough of them to make a difference. As discussed earlier, we can safely say it is 9% of the population. What research has found is that people with impairment are a decisive and influential minority. Let's have a closer look at these results and go back over some more of the missing out report stats. Graph 1. Over the last 12 months, I have ceased a transaction because I felt I was treated unfairly. As well as we all know, purchasing power is in the hands of customers, and when we don't get what we want, either in terms of product or service, we will cease a transaction. So 29% of people with an impairment or disability cease a transaction because they were treated unfairly. In the missing out report, they examine this closely and add other factors such as respect and fairness. Graph 2. The results in this report show that 1 in 5 customers without an impairment will cease a transaction. This jumps to 1 in 3 people with an impairment when they are not getting treated with fairness and respect, showing that a negative experience is more likely to drive a customer with an impairment away. Next, dissuading others. More than just walking away from a sale, people with impairment or disability are twice as likely than the rest of the population to dissuade others from using your product or service. So if your company is not treating people with an impairment with respect and fairness, your business is already being affected. So very, very likely that if you've treated them unfairly, they're going to go and tell everyone. So we don't want that happening. Graph 4. We have been asked in the past if supporting diversity in businesses can have the adverse effect. Can it drive current customers away? The missing out report found that 12% of people were negatively affected by the business's diversity reputation, but 58 were positively affected and the other 30% weren't too worried. Yes, you may lose that 12%, but you will gain so much more just by being more inclusive and more fair and respectful. This result was not impairment specific, but included other minorities that can be quite decisive, such as marriage equality, people with impairment. So important messages to know there. Key findings of what we have just discussed. To finish this section off, I want to read to you the relevant key findings. Customers with an impairment are 3 times more likely to avoid an organisation and twice as likely to dissuade others because of an organisation's negative diversity reputation. There is a good chance that if your business isn't accessible or inclusive, then it's already been impacted. We've covered the possible negative effects, but now let's have a look at the positive effects, which are ethical consumerism and applying to impairments. So what is ethical consumerism? Ethical consumerism is a form of political activism based on the ideas that purchasers and markets consume not only goods, but also implicitly embrace the process used to produce them, by choosing certain products over others or whether to purchase them at all. Consumers can embrace or reject particular environmental and labour practices and make other valuable claims based on the ethical values that they hold. Exercising choice in this way creates incentives for producers to make the production practices which conform with consumers' values. Successful campaigns waged by ethical consumer movements have popularised dolphin-free tuna, foods that are free from GMOs, sweatshop-free clothing, fair trade coffee, cosmetic-free products free from animal testing, and conflict-free diamonds. So that movement is definitely getting better, and A lot more people are going to what is right for the environment or what is ethically right before they buy things. So that movement is definitely flowing, which is really good. Applying to impairment. So how can ethical consumerism be connected to people with an impairment? Who here has heard of the quiet hour that has been piloted at Coles and Woolworths here in Australia? For those that haven't, let me explain. Some impairments make people hyper aware of their surroundings, making activities such as going to the supermarket very challenging. At Coles and Woolworths every Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:30, the store lighting is dimmed by 50%. Radios are switched off, register scanners and volumes are reduced, trolley collections are stopped, roll cages are removed from the shop floor. PA announcements are stopped except in case of an emergency. Free food is offered at the customer service and additional team members are available to support customers. This is an amazing initiative and makes a great difference to many people, and it also has increased the ethical reputation of both businesses. If you research on the internet, you will see that this has been published all over Australia. So how do you think that this has affected consumers? I think they'd be really happy with that, and just knowing that you've got that time frame, you're in a wheelchair or you've got a mobility issue or hyper-aware issue or a phobia or something like that, just knowing that you've got that time, that it's for you to go in on your own without the hustle and bustle of everyone else. So it's really, really cool, and hopefully that will start happening every day, where there's a time slot for the elderly or the disabled to go in and get what they need. And they kind of did it with the COVID while that was happening. I know that in WA anyway, they, older people and people with disability were able to go into the supermarket. It was at 7 in the morning, which I don't think was that good a time. But people have said to me, well, maybe it's because that's when all the stock's all there. So it's a hard one. But I feel people, some people have carers and they take hours to get up and they might not be able to be there at 7 a.m. Anyway, luckily we do have online shopping as well, but not everyone knows how to use that either. So it's a start. It's a great start, and I'm sure that it's benefiting so many people and so many families just knowing that they can go in at that time and it's quiet and there's help and it's a time slot just for them. So that is Tapping In Part 3 for tonight, and that is the last one of Tapping In Part 3. So the rest of the webinars we'll be doing tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, like I said, and then we will be heading back into the businesses, hopefully, and doing this all live. So if you're interested in having an disability awareness training workshop with Ben and I, please feel free to contact the page. So right now, if you have to go, please jump onto the link below and fill out the survey, Tapping In Part 3. And if you do have any questions, please jump on to the link below and hit the live box and ask any questions. But if you do have to go, thanks for joining me. I'm hoping that you can join me tomorrow for Tapping In Part 4, which we go over advertising and being inclusive within a business and how to do it. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a few minutes to see if anyone's got any questions, but if not, I will see you all tomorrow. Hey guys, welcome back. There doesn't appear to be any questions tonight, so I will let you all go, and hopefully you can join me tomorrow for tapping in part 4, our last one for the week, and then Monday and Tuesday where we do 5 and 6, the final webinars. But if you have missed any of them that we've done, please jump onto our website or our other platforms and you can watch and catch up on 1, 2 or 3 now. Because everything is recorded. And if you wanted to look more into the missing out or any stats that we've gone over, you can jump onto our website and have a look under the resources part and find out more information. Thanks for joining me though, guys, and I will see you tomorrow for tapping in part 4. Thank you. We'll see you later.